I believe it's Derek More Plates More Dates that was talking about the like hedonic treadmill where like you think you want to be at one point, and when you get there you think that now you need to be at this other point, and it's like this ever, growing thing. I have, it's like financially I'm doing light years better than I ever have and I could have ever believed I could ever be at, but I still am like, no, it's not enough. Like I don't have enough.
Max, thank you for coming on the podcast. Really grateful and honored for you to join me here, because when I started lifting weights in 2017, really for the first time, it was your channel that you, Rob Lipsit, Christian, I was just so enthralled by the life that you guys were living. And I'm really appreciative for everything, all the content that you've put out for years, because it really made a big impact on me. And when you're starting something new, it's really important to have a guidepost to look at. And you were one of those guideposts for me. So thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Really,
it's cool to hear.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear people, been following for like a while. We did a good job at building the community, so I'm excited.
So, yesterday this new app Threads launched, and I figured I want to talk to you about that, particularly because you've been on social media for over 10 years. But before we do, I want to talk to you about the moment you realized YouTube was a thing that you could actually upload videos to and that it excited you. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, but I mean, social media for me back in 2013. I mean, I've been consuming content. Like I've been a fan of consuming YouTube content since 2008 is when I've kind of found out about YouTube, and I really started following some people like Philip DeFranco and like some individuals that I've still watched to this day. So I was an avid consumer of content, and I still am on a daily basis. So it's always been a unique, cool app for me. It's always been interesting to me. And then when I first got into it in like early 2013, it was just it wasn't as big of a deciding factor to get on it, because it was such this like wild west of this like random app. You can upload videos of you doing stuff, and social media. People had Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but it wasn't like it wasn't like it is now. So it was just a different landscape, and I could have never imagined that. I didn't even think back then it wasn't like this social media thing is going to be a big deal one day. I was just like, oh, yeah, people who, I don't know, there's random people on the internet that can watch me, and it blossomed into something crazy, honestly.
Do you remember like the first YouTube video you posted, or it being a big deal when you first started?
No, I didn't make like a big deal about it. I mean, my YouTube channel kind of like predates my actual first like YouTube channel vlog upload, because I used my channel to upload a couple like PR attempts in the gym, and I would just take those like 10-second clips and then put them on like a bodybuilding forum or something. So my YouTube channel actually started back in like 2011, because I would just upload these clips, and so it's like obviously I didn't get excitement from that. But when I posted my first, my first real video was I reviewed this like Inzer belt, which is like a lifting belt for power lifters essentially. And I was excited about making that video, because my whole concept of getting on to the platform was when I was going to look to buy this lifting belt, I was looking up on YouTube like reviews on it. So then, and it was really helpful, and a lot of videos that I watched were like influenced me to buy this belt of reasonings. So I was like, well, like I think I should make a video about like my thoughts about the belt, because I think I searched for this belt and found it because of YouTube. Like, let me tell people my thoughts on it. So that was kind of what sparked it originally. And then, I met this guy, Nick Wright, who was already on YouTube. And then he kind of sparked the interest for me to pick up the camera more often. But I remember putting that video out for the Inzer belt and getting a lot of flack from my friends about this weird kind of video that I put out of just like me talking to the camera. And I don't know. It was something that I gravitated towards, and I stuck with it, and I'm glad we did, because we wouldn't be doing this podcast if I never did.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much you were going against the grain of what the culture was saying was acceptable, because even getting fired from one of your jobs and filming in the gym was an uncomfortable thing, or things that people weren't really accustomed to. And now it's like, it's cool to do something that was once not that long ago seen as very not cool to do. How has that transition like been for you? Did you always think it was cool? Were you embarrassed to be a YouTuber at any point? Like what was that like for you?
No, I mean, I would get shit from my friends when I go to parties or whatnot because I would, early on in my YouTube career, it'd be like, oh, I'm going to give people a physique update, which is very normal now on social media. But then I was, doing it in my bedroom and just like, with my shirt off and flexing for the internet. And, my normal friends thought it was very strange that I'd be doing that and, filming myself doing bicep curls in the gym. And I guess even fitness back when I started YouTube had this weird connotation that if you even went to the gym, you were like a bro and you were just all about your muscles. Whereas now it's like kind of weird if you don't go to the gym, which is great, which is a great transition. And so no, and when I put it out there, it was just I knew that like I really enjoyed making the videos. And again, like it was a different landscape because I didn't create content for any sort of there was no metric or no expectation for it. And now everyone starts social media with this expectation that they need to get popular very fast. They need to be able to, make $100,000 a year immediately out of the gate. And, it's different times now. It's simpler and more difficult now than it was back then.
Do you think that's true? Like from my experience, I haven't seen that to be the case where people expect things really quickly. I've been building this podcast for 3 years and, like I've never once expected like, oh, this is going to blow up overnight or, oh, this is going to make so much money. It's like very much a long grind and a 10-year game I'm playing. I think there's a lot of people that probably look at your content and feel the same way. They just might not reach out to you or be connected with you in a lot of ways.
I kind of would disagree. I guess I would.
Please.
I would definitely say that I think the majority of people, especially the younger generation who's 19, 20, is the purpose of them starting social media is for this dream of financial freedom, money. They see the money these influencers are making, so that's the purpose of them starting it. They have this thing that like it needs to take off. Like people are deciding to not even try to work a normal job because they're like, no, I'm gonna like live in my car. Before it was like I'm gonna live in my car so I can be a bodybuilder. I'm gonna hear about Arnold and shit like that. But like now it's like they're gonna do everything they can to not follow the normal path, and they'll struggle along the way until they're like, I have to make it on social media because I think people think that it is a great thing to do, working for yourself and, the social media, and there's a lot of perks and, things that come along with it. But I think it's become such the norm that now no one wants to do any traditional path because they're like, I just want, they almost think it's like this easier path with a larger outcome, which a larger return because they see the money that people are making and they think that it'll happen to them, and they think that they, and if they don't blow up in 6 months or a year, they give up. And, it took me really probably about 3 years of creating content to really like financially get to a point where I could do it full time. And it's easier to make money now if you kind of know what you're doing. But, even then those 3 years wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm casually doing this. Like I was putting my all effort into it for years. I was uploading 4 videos a week. And nowadays people upload, once a month on YouTube and are pissed about their growth, right? So it's just different times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I disagree with you in terms of people uploading one video a month and then being upset at their growth. But I think we're just interacting with different subsets of people. But back to you, on to that point of like putting out 4 videos a week. Like, what was that moment where you felt like, oh, wow, life is different now?
I never really like had sections of my life that I was like, oh, I've made it. Oh, I've done this. Oh, I've like achieved this kind of thing. It was YouTube and social media was for me. It was this dynamic of I like doing this thing. I'm going to keep uploading content, and whatever the result is it is what it is. And then at some point, I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm starting to make a couple extra bucks from it. Oh, that's cool. Wow, I got a sponsorship. Now I don't need to pay for my protein. I can get my protein delivered, sent to me as like a sponsorship. Oh, wow, this is cool. So it was like that. I never I kept my expectations low because there wasn't a blueprint of like a path to success. Everyone was just figuring it out as they went. There wasn't this, you could look at these thousands of other people that have done it before you. There wasn't that many people, and the people it was an anomaly for someone to be doing it full time. And even if they were back then, they were not wildly successful financially. They were just doing okay enough to, get by with making this content. So, there was never some sort of pinnacle moment where I felt like a huge transition in my mindset and my brain towards creating content. It was just, I like doing it. Let's keep going.
So you were making $8,000 a month consistently in the 12 months of being at your job until you said, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
And you called your mom and you said to your mom, I'm leaving. And she's like, whoa, don't go.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that was the mindset. And that's a conversation I think a lot of people will have in the future as well. How do you go about approaching that conversation with somebody that you love and explaining to them how you're going to move forward in your journey?
Yeah. I mean, I guess when my mom was telling me it wasn't a good idea, it was more of like, hey mom, I'm calling you to let you know what I'm doing, not asking you if I should do this. I was just, giving a heads up. And, I knew I was an adult. I was 20, I guess at the time I was 26. And yeah, I knew my financials coming in. I had a good amount of money saved up in the bank. So I knew financially I would have been fine. And I knew that the type of job that I was doing, which was IT recruiting, I knew it'd be relatively easy to go back to that type of job if I'd, failed at setting out on my own. So I don't know. I didn't really weigh the risks that much. It was more of instead of jumping the ship too soon, I was more strategic with when I exited so that I knew when I exited, I was pretty much good. I was pretty much golden. It wasn't this huge risk in my mind because I was look at the past 12 months. I've been doing it and it's only going to get better from here. I'm only going to be able to put more effort into it. So it's only going to grow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But when you tell someone that you love, you're kind of hoping that they're going to be 100% supportive. But I think it's important to have people that are playing, the opposite sides of are you sure this is the best idea? Have you thought about this? And, it's not people who are doubting your ability. It's just a different way to approach it. So, my mom was just nervous for me. This is a new type of venture, a new world that people haven't really gone into that much at the time, and she was unaware of it. But I believed in myself, and now she's and even this happened a long time ago, but she's extremely proud of everything that I've done. She gloats about me to all her friends. She watches all my content. She loves it. So yeah, it's cool.
So your mom said about you when you were growing up that she's never seen somebody make friends so quickly. What is it about you, do you think, that allows you to make friends so quickly?
See, I think that's just a mom thing to say. I don't even know if I did make friends really quickly. Because I feel in high school stuff, I kind of felt like I was in, and it's weird saying this, but it's I was in the popular crowd of people, but even in that crowd, which is so dumb, right? But even though I was in the group of all the cool kids, all the cool girls, I was in that world, I felt like I was barely in it. I was on the outskirts, that I still would be I'm not in the inner circle of the circle, right? So I always felt like I was kind of keep having to try a little harder to, maintain my friendships with a lot of these people. So I don't know if it came as easy as them, but something that I've learned over the years is that, with whether it be with my brother moving to an area, I've always had a good ability to understand when there's a good group of people, and if I know what I know what like people will get along with other people, and I can like kind of like bring groups of friends together. And it's, normally when someone else maybe brings someone in, you're just kind of like, oh, you're friendly with them. But I was like, everyone that I will bring into like different groups ends up being like best friends with each other, and I kind of like know, I'm like, these people will mesh well with these people, like, and so I think I'm a good like glue for a lot of groups of friendships, and I think that's because I'm a very like lighthearted type of person, and a little bit carefree and goofy. So I think that maybe lowers the expectations of a group of maybe like friends who I know where I'm going with this, but like I feel like my sense of humor and my personality kind of makes it easier for people to kind of like accept me in. So I think that's maybe why I was like more. It was easier for me to like maybe make friends. Like that's what my mom says, but again, I really don't think I don't know, because even growing up, I was like I don't want new friends. I was like I like my core friends. Like I don't need to add more friends to my circle.
Well, this is really interesting, right? You're talking about the skill you believe you have, which is looking at two different people and being like, they should be friends, they should be together. What
Yeah.
is it that you're looking at that you're able to connect them?
It's just dynamics. I think it's just like it's just a I don't know. It's like I'll look at a lot of different people that are friends with other people, and I'm like, I'm the reason that they know that person. I'm the reason that they're friends with that group. I'm the reason that like these people are hanging out. And not in like a way that like I'm the master puppeteer, but it's I don't know. I think I just like I can spot real people and good people, and when you bring real people and good people together with other real good people, it's like it's gonna work no matter what. So it wasn't like I'm this matchmaker. It's just like I know how to select quality people, and so it's very easy to bring all of those people together and everyone gets along, where it's not like, so it's almost like I don't have like a million subsets of friends. It's just, even no matter where I go, everyone will mesh with the new people as well. And then when I moved to Texas, all my core friends in Virginia, all my core friends in Texas here know them, are friends with them when they come here. It's all like a big thing. It's not like that's Max's, Virginia friends. They're buddies with them now, and it's like it's cool expanding the group and not having to feel like, oh, I hang out with Group A on the weekend and I hang out with Group B during the week, and
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because what stands out to me is that you have a good barrier or a good quality filter for what makes a good person. And I'm curious how you think about that when looking at content on the internet, because content is just people, right? And people are presenting themselves in a particular way. How do you figure out like, oh, this is a real authentic human being, or versus like, this is somebody who's doing something that makes me feel bad? It's a difficult question to answer, because it's like, it's very much a feeling for me where I'm looking at something. But for you, what do you think it is that's standing out to you of people you're attracted to, and why?
I mean, for content creation, like I look at people that I feel like you can tell authenticity in when someone's being authentic on their social, because how consistent they are with their demeanor. It's you can put on a facade and put on this kind of like image for a short period of time, but to carry that for a long duration is actually pretty difficult, I think. So, that's why anyone who's watched my content 10 years ago, I'm relatively the same person that I am today. So, it's like, oh, this isn't an act of Maxx being weird and goofy. He's been like this for a decade, and it's either the greatest act of all time, or it's like just, who he is. So that's what I look for authenticity. And then also, like, you can tell when people upload content, especially for me, because I'm like a content creator, so I understand. Like I film my videos, I edit my videos, I film and edit my podcasts. Like I know the work that goes into them, and I know the thought process that goes into creating, and I can tell when someone puts out content that was thought out, that time and effort was put into, and I can tell what was like thrown together that is sloppy, that they're just like throwing out spaghetti on a wall and seeing what sticks. So not that maybe one's better than the other, but I appreciate creative content that I can tell that there was a thought behind why things are happening, how things are evolving in the storyline. And so that's how I kind of pick out quality content creators.
Yeah, as a creator yourself, when did you feel comfortable on making YouTubes and like feeling like, oh, I have a sense for what's gonna work?
Never. Yeah, I mean, like, again, it's like times were so different, and like, if you've been making content for only the past 5 years, you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about because like it's like back when I started, there was no blueprint. There was no one to look at and be like, this is what you should do. There was no algorithm to play. There was no trend to follow. There wasn't. It was just you just upload content of what you think is best, and it was just a simpler time, I guess. And like again, I wasn't. Now people are like analyzing trends and analyzing post times and all this shit, and I'm like, no one did that back then. It was just you upload when the video's ready, you upload the video. When the video's done, you upload the video. What are you gonna make it about? I don't know. You get the feedback from your own community. Oh, I like this. All right, I'm gonna make some more of this. Oh, I didn't like this. All right, I'm gonna switch to something else. There wasn't a lot of there wasn't a feed of content to consume to find out what's gonna take off. There wasn't these Mr. Beasts and Mr. Beast clones that are filling their fucking house with playground balls and like giving their best friend $1 million if they hold their hand on their Lamborghini. Like there wasn't this type of world. It was just I'm a human. I'm gonna make videos and boom. If you like it, check it out. But I'm not gonna try to swindle you and trick you with like spending a lot of money. I'm not gonna like have to do all these ridiculous things. So it was like it was such a simpler time. Like I reminisce back to it. I wasn't making any money back then, but it's almost like I enjoyed content creation more because there was less pressure, I guess, to elevate. It was just, hey, just produce content. But luckily now I'm kind of getting to a point after being on 10 years, I feel like I'm kind of in my victory lap. My interactions and my engagement has definitely gone down due to I'd hate to say it's because I'm not as cool as I once was, but I attribute a lot with the evolution of the time, the saturation of the market, short form content, millions of creators when before there wasn't, right? So there's a lot of factors of that, but I've started some businesses and I was super smart with the way that I handled my money for this duration that now I can kind of almost go back to what I created YouTube videos for back in the day where I have no expectation. I just upload for people who want to watch my content. I'm not trying to build I really do not create any content to try to build more of an audience. I really do not. Like I make content for people who already watch my content. Is that going to prevent me from growing to a new audience? Absolutely. But for me, my focus is on my businesses and my videos are now a documentary of my life. And I'm not going to go out of my way to do things to try to get 1 million followers. Like I don't care anymore. And it's like, I have the businesses that are making plenty of money. I don't care. And so now I can almost make videos again for fun without caring about it being my livelihood. And it's kind of a full circle feeling almost.
It's fascinating. One of the businesses that obviously has blown up recently is Sour Strips. And it really blew up in the first hour of you launching it. There was 19,000 sour strips sold in the first hour, I think 53 or 54 minutes. And what I found
interesting, research, man.
And what I found interesting about it was the strategy that you used in order to make that a reality.
Yeah.
Of reaching out to 200, I believe, influencers or people you knew in your circles, sending them packages. Could you talk a little bit about that strategy and about just how it felt for all those years you put in to then in 1 hour sell 19,000 units? Like that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. And the whole launch I definitely think was like a perfectly executed release of a new product, a new brand that I think, again, I was just like my success with YouTube has a lot to do with being on the platform early on and being one of these early adopters. I attribute a lot of my success to that. I do the same thing with Sour Strips. Yes, it's a great product. Yes, it's a great brand. Yes, we're doing a lot of great things. But it's also I absolutely was not the first, but I was definitely in the very early adopters of influencers starting, CPG or physical product brands that have nothing to do with them. I was one of the early adopters of it, and because of that, and now you see a lot of people coming out with products that they're trying to get in stores and stuff, and it's like, and it's the thing to do, and I understand why, but I think because I started early, I've had a lot more traction without having to worry about all the competition of everyone doing it, right? Um, so when I launched it, I mean, the concept for Sour Strips was a year or so long process of from an idea to an execution, probably about a year and a half. And when I had it finalized, I knew I wanted to launch it on my 30th birthday, which was September 9th. So Sour Strips will be 4 years old this September. And yeah, I had this concept. I called it Project XX as a play off of my buddy Christian, who launched Project X. And I was like, oh, I'll call mine Project XX because my name has two X's in it. And I announced this like secret project. Like normally people announce something, there's a million different strategies you can go when you launch a product of like when you're going to announce it, how long you're going to tease it. Do you let people know what it is a little bit before so they can be prepared, or do you just like, drop an album on them? And for me, I was going to go with the like, I don't want people to know what it is type of thing. And, I built this hype for like 6 months, and I built this list of influencers of like, hey, I'm starting a new company. If you want to be a part of it and be on the like PR list when it launches, hit me up if you have like a larger following. And it started, really quickly with my circle. And then I kept talking about it, and people were almost like, this is not going to launch for forever. Like, dude, you're going to burn out the hype. I was like, no, I think it's just fine. It's just fine. Just trust me. And yeah, it turned into this thing. We ended up having like 250 people, which is way more than my circle of people that I know. But it turned into this thing of almost, I think a lot of influencers like didn't want to not be a part of this thing because they were like, I want to be a part, whatever it is. Like, and again, I was at like the peak of my career too. So my socials were doing the best numbers they've ever done. So I was really popular in my world at the time. So people are like, oh, whatever he's going to come out with is going to be good, I think. So I want to be a part of this. I don't want to be one of the influencers that didn't get it. So now people don't give a shit about me, right? So now I'm like, no one would sign up for it. And so I did this whole thing and kept teasing it and teasing it and teasing it. And then we launched it with this masterful, reveal from all the influencers. And I had like hundreds of people posting about it, like on the day that it launched. And so I had told myself, and you can ask Mona as one of my, team members. I told her, because she was like, what do you hope, like, what do you think is going to happen on launch? And I told them, I was like, it has to sell out like almost immediately. It has to sell out day one, or it's going to be a flop. Like it has to sell out because the hype, I've been building this up for too long. And if it flops, it's done. Like, so it was like a all or nothing type of thing. And it did amazing. We sold, it was like 20,000 units in an hour. 2 months later, we launched another restock of 20,000 units, sold out in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Then we launched another 20,000 a month later, and we sold out. And it started getting slower. It was like 3 hours. And then another after that, then it was like a day. And when you start seeing, that's another thing, it messes with your mental. Because we didn't sell out the fourth time in a couple hours, you're like, it's over. This is it. People don't want it anymore. And you'll start getting comments like that, like, oh, wow, it's still in stock. Wow, people don't care. And I'm like, you start seeing these comments and you're like, fuck, dude. So, yeah, but, I think everyone was wrong who had those comments. And, now Sour Strips is an anomaly of a great product, great branding, great timing, a lot of luck, serendipitous timing of events. The world shutting down with COVID helped us a lot, which it was just this cyclone of the right thing at the right time, honestly.
It's so interesting to me how you have this part of you that's like, you're very humble, but you also have this part of you that feels like that doubts yourself as being this person that is capable of doing this thing. Where does that come from?
I've always said in my videos where like when I see the level of success that I've had from a lot of things, and then Sour Strips is the financial largest success that I've ever had. And so I guess I always had this imposter syndrome of like, whoa, like how did this, like I'm building this big ass brand, like, or I'm the creator of it, like what the hell, like not me, not little old Max. And I think I think it was Rob Bailey on a recent YouTube video, he mentioned something of like how like you see all these people, you know, building these huge businesses or having these huge financial moves or whatever, and he kind of worded it like you have this mindset where you think that level of success is reserved for a certain group of people. You're like, that's for like the elite people. Like I'm not, I'm a regular guy. Those aren't regular guys or girls. Those are elite people. And you don't know how to get to be an elite person. And you start realizing that, you know, if you can have success a little bit, if you know, if $100,000 is possible, $1 million is possible. When you hit $1 million, you realize that $10 million is possible. Then you hit $10 million and you realize $100 million is possible. And, you know, I still do have this imposter syndrome where I guess it's just crazy because I think I've put in a lot of work and time to build up Sour Strips. But when I look back and I see how well we're doing in my head now, I'm like, I mean, I don't think I worked like that hard. And I'm like, and to get to this level of success, like I feel like I feel like it's almost like dumb luck that it happened to me. And I think that I don't know, I kind of like live in fear at all times that it's going to crumble down. I think that's what keeps like pushing me to keep elevating. But I think the imposter syndrome is the perfect example of it, where you just think that like you can't be that guy. You can't be the guy that builds this huge candy company. Like not me. Like someone else for sure, but not me.
But why? Why do you believe
I don't
that?
know. I don't know. I guess, you know, it probably stems from like, you know, growing up, I never, it wasn't like had this upbringing of, I was, you know, captain of the team and the prom king and the perfect grades and the most popular guy and had this smoking hot girl. I wasn't, I mean, now I do, but I think my upbringing was I'm a C student. You know, my family doesn't come from a bunch of money. I bought like a 1995 Grand Cherokee as my first car. I got I didn't do well in school. I applied to college, didn't get into the college I wanted to, had to go to
VCU.
community college where I felt like a loser because I was a community college. Yeah, I eventually graduated from VCU and, you know, I got an average job out of school. I made average money. I made like $40,000 out of college for the first couple years. So I just like, I lived this, like I was fine and happy. But if you looked at everything that I'm doing, I'm living an average life. I was living in that. I was like, so for me to have all this success from doing all these average things, I was like, how can I, now that I'm doing above average, it just seems weird. It seems weird for me because it wasn't like I come from winning all the time, you know? I don't come from, yeah, like that's a good example. Is like, yeah, I don't come from like winning everything I do.
It seems like from looking at your story that there was a moment that it switched where you had a 2.2 or 2.6 GPA in high school.
Yeah, like it's like a 2.4. No matter what, it was shitty, but like I think it was like a 2.4 or something. 2.7
Okay.
at highest. I've actually I ordered my transcript not too long ago. I can probably find it real fast, but yeah, it was terrible. And what's crazy is it's not even that. Just to briefly touch on it, it wasn't because I was dumb. That was a part of it, but it's like I just couldn't concentrate in school, and I would just like get so like distracted. But also, I would get so many points taken off from just running my mouth. Like I'd be getting C's in gym class, and it's like how? And it's because I would be getting. It's like everyone had that. You know, you saw the kid in class that was getting sat out, timeout. You know, go take your desk out in the hallway and do your test. I was that kid because I just couldn't shut up. I just was like, but it's a serendipitous full circle that, you know, my class clown, always wanting to be the center of attention, always wanting to run my mouth, would turn into be what my future is. So yeah, that's school was a tricky one for me.
And so at some point you flip a switch and you're like, I'm going to do well in college, or I'm going to do well in community college, whenever it was. Do you remember that moment?
Well, yeah, my mom was always she was always so surprised when I started doing well in college. But the reason that I started doing well in college, not only the community college I went to, there was just I did so well because it was easy. Like it was just the community college. Like I think it was easier than normal college. There were so many. I would go to like accounting class, and they're like, yeah, if you come to the after class study sessions, every time you come, you'll get 2 extra points. And they had them after every class, and you can get like 5 extra points on your test. You could get up to like 20 extra points on your test by doing all these things. And then the final exam, if you came to all the extra classes, you could do the final exam as a group in the class. And it was just you couldn't not do well. It was like all these things. I was like, it's just they were like, here's an A, here's an A. But one of the biggest reasons outside of that was when I went to community college, I didn't know anyone, so I didn't have a circle of people to try to like make laugh in the class. So I would go to these classes and I just was sitting. I have to be like, oh, I guess I'll just sit here and not say anything because I don't know anyone. So it's like, in high school, like you have your buddies in class, you have the girls you're trying to flirt with, you have the teachers that you know so well and you're joking with. And so I was always doing that in class, but in college, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any classes with friends. And again, I didn't want to make new friends. I was like, no, I have my core boys. I don't need to make new friends in college. Like I'm just going here to get my degree. Like I don't care about y'all. So it's like I didn't have the desire to want to talk to anyone. So if I shut up and just paid attention, I could do much better.
Well, it's so interesting because, like in some sense, you identify so much with being like the quote unquote average person of like not succeeding, but your life is a representation of success and winning, whether or not you grasp that or see that in yourself. Like, do you give yourself moments to see what you've accomplished and to really bask in it and to really be like, wow, I'm a winner. I've won. Or does that feel too uncomfortable for you?
Yeah, I guess it does, and it's a weird thing to think about because people probably look at me and are like, oh, Max is like, downplaying his success. Look at his house that he lives in. Look at like his life that he lives. But I think I just again live this like forever imposter syndrome where I think that even I guess I just feel like all of this was like dumb luck and like I got lucky at what I did. And I guess I do downplay the sacrifices that I made for so long on social media, as goofy as that sounds, of like, wanting to put out content and sacrificing going out for years and just, we're having to work a day job and then trying to, 8 hours of my day was taken up by this day job and I was still pumping out 4 videos a week. I couldn't go to the gym and film until 8 o'clock at night. So I had to go to the gym at 8 o'clock, not get home till like 10:30. Then I had to work on my clothing company and, fulfill orders because I was the only person. I filmed these day in the life videos you can go back and watch where I show exactly what I do all day. And it's like, I woke up at, 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. and, and then I wouldn't go to bed until like midnight or something. But the difference, and that's like pretty much what I do now, but the difference was like I couldn't do anything for leisure during that time. It was essentially like I was like I'm like I'm grinding, hustle, whatever. It was just more like not 8 hours of my day is taken up, so I only have the next 8 hours to do all the shit that I need to do. So I guess I just I probably do downplay a lot more than I maybe should. And I think I believe it's Derek More Plates More Dates that was talking about the like hedonic treadmill where like you think you want to be at one point, and when you get there you think that now you need to be at this other point, and it's like this ever growing thing. I have it's like financially I'm doing light years better than I ever have and I could have ever believed I could ever be at, but I still am like, no, it's not enough. Like I don't have enough. Like it's like I hate when I really don't like talking. Like I like talking about money, but I also don't because I feel like I don't know how to word it in a way that doesn't come off like some boisterous way. But like, it's like I have more financial success than like any of my parents ever could imagine. And I lived a perfect life growing up, but I'm still like stressed about, do I have enough for my family in the future? But I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. But like in my head, I'm like, no. I need to like do even more because like I don't have enough. And I'm like, Max, you grew up on a fraction of this, and you loved your life, and your family gave you a great life, and so I guess I just always like I'm on this hedonic treadmill where I think that like the level of success that I've gotten to isn't enough for where I think I want to be, even though, again, you don't see me buying a bunch of, fancy. I'm not the guy. You follow me on Twitter. I'm not the guy on Twitter that's showing off his like new Rolex all the time, or buying a bunch of shit, or like look at my new like keys to my Ferrari and stuff. Like I'm not doing that. So it's like I'm setting myself up fine, but I still think that I need more and more and more, and I don't know when that stops. Like I really don't.
What would it take for you to be at peace?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Honestly, time. I think probably when I start settling down, having a family with my girlfriend. I think for the longest time, and I understand the culture of the the guys and the girls, whatever, that are talking about like, I work because it's my passion, and even if I have enough money, I'm gonna work. Where I'm like, I'm almost kind of to the opposite. Where like, look, when I start my family, like, yeah, I'm gonna do some stuff to kind of keep me busy. But if you think I'm gonna do this same level of like hustling all day, I was like, you're out of your mind. Like, I'm gonna be relaxing with my wife, relaxing with my kid, going traveling with them. Like, I'm not gonna be working like I'm now. And like, it's like, yeah, I liked working, but like once I've built up the level of wealth that I need to live the life that I want, I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit. Like, I don't think I have to, grind until I'm 40, 50, 60. I mean, the whole thing forever ago is the idea was that you got to, 60, 70, you retire with your 401k and you do that. But, what was the reasoning for that age? It was that by that time, we'll just say, I'm using the phrase the average person, but the average person would, by that time, it would have compounded enough money in their 401k, their investments, so they could retire with, $1 million in the bank or something, and be able to live out their life and not have to work because now they are financially free. And I'm like, what if you achieve to those standards by the time you're 33? Like, do you keep going until you're 60? Or do you like be like, can you just go into retirement essentially at 30, where it seems weird? You're like, no, you have to keep grinding. It's like, why? Like, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to turn into a piece of shit slob that plays games all day and watches Netflix 24/7. But I think the like waking up at 7 a.m. to get on the computer and hustle until 7 o'clock at night is not how I'm going to live my life, like, for sure. So when I have a kid, when I settle down, will be when I pump the brakes a lot and kind of then bask in my glory. And until that time, I'm going to keep my head down and keep going, because I know that there's this kind of finish line that for me, I'm prepared to hit and kind of coast a little bit. Whereas so I'm trying to just sprint until I can get to that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it implies what you're saying, that you can't be working and at peace at the same time. Yeah. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I don't know. It just kind of depends, like, the level of stress. I think, everyone wants these like huge companies, but more money, more problems. And with added success comes added stress. And for me, I don't look at a lot of things that I do. I guess I don't think that I work as much as I do, because a lot of what I do, and I hate when people are like, oh, I love it, so it doesn't feel like work. But like, for someone like me, like, I don't consider filming YouTube videos and editing YouTube videos as work. I do not. And the reasoning isn't because I love it and it's my passion. It's because I've been doing this shit for 10 years and I did it for 2.5, 3 years without making any money. So it was just something that I did. And so now, like, if you ever hear me say like, oh, I have to go do some work, you'll never come in and that work will be editing a video or something. I'll say I need to go edit, or I'm filming today. It's not like, oh, I can't do that, I'm working today, because I am like, no, that I'm filming, I'm not working. I'm editing, I'm not working. If I'm working, that means I'm doing emails. I'm sitting at the computer and doing emails. That's work to me.
On that point, real quick, yeah. I think we need another word, because similar, this podcast doesn't feel like work to me.
Yeah.
And it's not play, but I need like something where it's like in between work and play where I can say that it's enjoyable, but it's also work at the same time. We don't have a word for that in the
I don't know.
English language.
I'm just
which
all
is
triggered by
fascinating.
a lot of the terminology. I would always rag on my friends whenever they're like, oh, like, oh, I can't do lunch at that time. I have like a meeting with Susie at like 12, and like Susie's one of their employees. I'm like, so you mean you're just talking to one of your employees? Like, what? It's like, why are you trying to make it feel like it's like, oh, it's a meeting. I'm like, what are you gonna just sit down and fucking chat for 5 minutes? I was like, I don't know. I guess I still live as like a kid where I'm like, that's like a meeting. Like I don't have meetings. I just like, hey guys, we're gonna chat real fast. Like, so I don't know, man. It's the older I get, I think the more that I realize like what's important and what I value, and if the things that I love, I love working. I love like proving to myself that I can do stuff, even though I feel like a lot of times I haven't hit the level of success that I have hit, and I love it all. But if I was to, I'd be a liar if I told you that all I want to do all day is hustle on my businesses. I don't. I mean, there's like I want to just lay around and kind of watch Netflix a lot of times. I want to like play video games and stuff, and like so I'd be lying if I said like the life I want to live in the future is chilling 24/7. But I think what I'd do is I would turn my hobbies, playing games, skateboarding, working on my Jeep, like, turn that into something that I don't have to do it for the money anymore, but I can just go back to just doing things that bring me enjoyment. And for that is sharing content with people. So I think I'll always kind of be on social and doing things that are relative to that. And whether they have the financial success or not is kind of irrelevant, because it'll be like, that's not the purpose of it. If it brings in some money, that's cool. If we have sponsors, that's cool. I've put out almost 60 episodes of my podcast, and I've had 3 episodes sponsored, and I don't even plug my own shit. Like, it's like I just like to do things because they're enjoyable to me. And yeah.
It's really cool, man. I think that it's really nice to see your evolution in terms of like what you value and what's important to you. And maybe you always valued friendship and connection to others and being at peace, but it seems like more so today than ever. And I think one of the reasons for that is your girlfriend. You've mentioned her impact on your life being so significant because she's shown you a different way of living. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was single for like 7 or 8 years before I met my current girlfriend Taylor, and a big reason that I never got into a relationship was because I felt like a girl was going to slow me down, a girl was going to want to watch Netflix while I need to get work done. And for a long time I was sprinting and sprinting and sprinting, and it wasn't until I kind of got some employees and got some and more structure in my life to be able to alleviate a little bit of my stresses. And then when I met my girlfriend, it's meeting the right person at the right time, and she was a great eye opener for me that you can kind of turn off in the evening. You don't need to be hustling 24/7. And I think what changed it wasn't like she made me stop working at night, is she made me realize that I wanted to stop working to spend time with her. And like it wasn't until I found the person that I wanted to, like, I want to move my schedule around to be able to do things with you. I want to be able to go on trips with you that are not gonna produce an ROI. It's like I learned that through her. So it's been a great experience. We're a year and a half in, and better than ever. And so yeah, no, there was a very big eye opener for me, and it took me a long time to get to the point in my life to meet someone where I could kind of shut off at nighttime and not have to stress about work and not be sitting at the computer. The moment I get home from the office, I'm back on my computer in my home doing more work, or or trying to look for work to do, because I feel like if I'm not working, I'm being lazy. And I'm now at if you bust in my house at like 8 o'clock at night, I'm gonna be sitting on the couch watching The Office, like every night. Like,
I won't tell anyone.
tell them away, dude.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like when you are able to, it seems like the evolution of of the culture in a lot of ways has been work, 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 work until like it's okay to relax, because the relaxing helps you work and frees your mind and might give you an idea watching The Office that you might not get if you're just working all the time.
Well, I guess I think there's different ways to kind of look at it. I think a lot of people, they work for a lot of different reasons, but let's say the main ones are financial reasons or fulfillment, right? So it's just like, what is the fulfillment to someone else? Because if someone else decides to chill in their life because they've made enough money, but someone else tries to like almost be like, God, you're getting lazy. But if person who's ready to chill has 70 times more money than the other person, then it's like, no, like I'm just where you're trying to get, and now I can chill. Like I can kind of chill. Or it's like, hey, your fulfillment of needing to work 24/7 is not the same as my fulfillment in life of like, I don't need to like prove to myself that I can be hustling all the time to know that I'm, serving a purpose in life or have made an impact in this world or doing things. And I think what I tried to do on my social media is almost be the beacon of light that the normal person can achieve great things, and you don't need to be a wizard guru at things to have success. You don't need to run your life 24/7 as a business to find happiness and success. And so I'm hoping that I am showing people the easier to digest, realistic, approach that if you don't want to be this extreme business guy, you can live a great life, you can have a lot of success, you can do great things, and you can still go out with your friends. You can still eat a pizza on the weekend. You can still have some margaritas. You can go on trips. You don't have to hustle all the time. You can watch movies at nighttime. You can go to the movie theater, And I think a lot of people think that because I felt this way, that if I do these things, then I'm going to be perceived as lazy. I'm wasting time, whatever. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay to do that because it ain't that big of a deal.
Yeah. Perceived by who?
The public. A lot of people are going to be, especially on social, everyone's worried about what everyone's thinking, and everyone would be lying if they didn't, it's everyone's trying to essentially dick measure throughout on the social media apps, or, I think in the business world now, it's the sexy thing to be an entrepreneur, but now it's a sexy thing. I see it all the time on Twitter. I don't know how I started looking at a couple people on Twitter, and now my whole feed is gurus that in their freaking, and I apologize if anyone or has this like that, but like, help scale businesses, help scale 80 clients to $100 million in their bio and shit. I'm like, when did this become like this measuring of who's made the most money, who's done this like thing, who's working even harder, it's like, who cares? Like, who cares? And I think that that's what everyone's kind of doing, is trying to show like how much they're doing or how great they're doing, when it's like, guys, everyone's just trying to like find the purpose of like life here, right? And letting life's too short. There's been a lot of people that I've seen on social media very recently pass away, and you look at these individuals that are no longer with us, that died at a certain a young age, and you're like, fuck, is it like, what if I die tomorrow? Like, am I going to be wishing that I was at the computer more often, or am I wishing that I was out like, playing with my dog in the middle of the afternoon? It's like, I think those are the things that you just kind of have to balance. And I think my eyes have been opened a lot over the years. So,
yeah, you talk about, people in social media passing away. Your father obviously passed away in, I believe, 2005. And you've been very public about that and explaining the story. I watched your video titled, I believe, I Love You, Dad, or I Miss You, Dad. Yeah. And it was really, really good. I'll link it down below for people who want to check it out. Just a beautiful tribute. And, what I want to touch on is when I watched that video last night, it was like, you said something that really stuck with me, which is like, something over the past couple of weeks has said, go visit dad, go visit dad. Like, there was a voice inside of you that wanted you to go home at that time. I'm curious what you think that was as well. Please explain like your father's impact on your life.
I've never like thought about the, that thing that I said in the video where like I felt this calling, but yeah, it was just this weird thing that like I think that there was so much stress piling up, and I don't know. It's like I don't even know how to explain. It just kept being like, you haven't gone to the grave in a bit, like you need to go, and like it just like it popped in my head once, and then I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't get it out of my mind, and every time I'd be like, I'm not gonna fly to the, like, I love my dad, but like it's like I don't need to do that right now, like. But then it's like at some point I was like, I need to, and I told my Mona, my employee, I was like, listen, I was like, I'm gonna be gone the next like couple days, some personal stuff. Don't text me, like like I'll be fine, but like just like I'm gonna be kind of off the radar, and so that was a really good, impactful moment of doing that, and it brought me a lot of happiness. And my dad was, I don't remember a lot. I remember like flashes of life and flashes of events and flashes of things that we did, and his voice and whatnot. But I don't have that many memories that are ingrained in me, because he passed when I was 15, but I moved away from him and lived with my mom when I was 10. So for the from 10 to 15, I remember more of like living with my mom. So I didn't remember, I wasn't up until I was 10. I don't remember as much, being super young. So, but I just, the impact that I hear about the man that my dad was to all the people that, came to the funeral, that, were talking to me about the impact that he left in their life. And, he was an entrepreneur at a later stage in his life, and he owned a bunch of like coffee shops. And, what people would say is that, when I'd walk into the store, he'd know me by name. He'd always had some like, funny thing he was saying to make you laugh. He was like always like just this like light in like the dark world that like brought happiness into people's life. And I think that is like indirectly gone through me as well, where like entertainment, making people laugh, keeping it lighthearted, is something that I think is a trait from my dad that I get, that I love. And I think the value that I've delivered to people is entertainment, and I think that has a lot of impact, more than, because I think for a long time I thought that I had to be really, really motivational, really, really, I just say motivational phrases in speeches instead of just being motivating by living my life. And, and that's what I learned and then I turned to humor, and, it's like a form of escapism for me, and it helps me, cope with a lot of things. That's why even, you'll see I'll get flack on podcasts and stuff when people talk about tough times, or when I talk to my brother about dark times. I still want to crack jokes in the most inappropriate of times, because that's just how I naturally deal with emotions, is humor. And it usually is in the wrong place at the wrong time, but that's just, it's like, yeah, humor is what I gravitate towards, and it's a gift and a curse, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you are such a great communicator, but in that same video, you said, I have a lot of things that are built up inside of me that I don't know how to express, and I just keep them bottled up. It's something that I really want to let go, because you never know when you're going to lose someone. And I thought that was so interesting to hear you say that, of all people, because it seems like you know how to speak what is in your heart at any moment. But to hear that you were having that difficult and that trouble at that moment was just interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has their their demons that they kind of battle internally, and yeah, I think for me it's always been comparison to others, and my inability to believe that I'm like worthy enough of deserving X or whatever, because I feel like it's all like it shouldn't be me. It shouldn't be me. It wasn't me back in the day. It shouldn't be me now. And so it's almost like this surreal thing when everything's going so well all the time. I'm like, it's only a matter of time for something, like it's going too well for me, because
who
it's like,
would you be without that belief?
I don't know.
Look at that
Elon,
breath.
I'd be
that breath
I'd be,
isn't that breath is very indicative, because you've been living under that reality for so long. You
mm-hmm.
don't know what it might feel like to not live under that reality.
If if I could surpass all that, I'd be the most enlightened man. I'd be I don't know, man. It's It's an interesting way. I think it's what shapes individuals, man. Not everyone's perfect, and not everyone has these self doubts and darker sides of them. And if anyone says they don't have uh, um, maybe like not like self esteem, but maybe things that they feel that like they don't have like someone else maybe has. I feel like everyone has these kind of things, and these maybe people doubt themselves more than they let the world out to believe, right? And you even look at any individual that's like, I can't fail, I can succeed at everything you do. I think there's always like a level of self doubt that maybe some people have, and for me, it just maybe is more than the average person.
Yeah, you don't need to live with that belief. Like
Yeah.
you just gave an example that it's okay that I have this self doubt because a lot of people do. But I'm saying to you that you actually don't need to have it. Like it's a coping mechanism you have for some reason. And like even when you took that breath, it was like there was a freedom that existed in your space that if you just sat with it for some moment, you would feel differently. And I think it's worth thinking about and paying attention to because everything in your life becomes a lot more joyful if you
Yeah.
live in that reality.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's a work in progress for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to complain about in my life really. It's like we're doing well. I live a very happy life. I have a great relationship with my friends and my family, and I'm building a great future for my future family. And but it's I want to I talk a lot about stuff like this, and people always try to say like how I should feel about how like, oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. But I want to be like, guys, like it's normal that you should normalize influencers and people with status, or people that you look as on this pedestal of anything, that they are human like everyone else. They are have their emotions, they have their doubts, and I want to just showcase that it's fine to have some doubts. Like I think that it's fine to like question if this is the best decision that you're doing. And I just want to be real with people. So I don't want to almost put on this aside. So I talk about my emotions, and I talk about the way that I feel, and I talk about the doubts because it's how I feel. And it's not, I don't want to put on this facade, this fake, clown face of everything is, hunky dory and everything is like perfect in my head. And like, yes, I live a great life, and yes, I'm very happy. And yes, I'm, you know, gonna keep doing even more things that I don't know that I'm gonna achieve yet. But I have doubts, I have worries, I have concerns, I have self-esteem issues on certain aspects, and it's just like, hey, it's just real. I can lie to you and say I'm the shit, and like I know I am, but it's not true.
Yeah. In that video, you talked about not seeing your uncle
Mm-hmm.
in 15 years since your dad's funeral.
Yeah.
And then, that takes a lot of courage to then see him when you go home and visit 16 years later. What in you gave you that decision to see your uncle in that moment?
I guess I just I felt like it was the right thing to do. I hadn't spoken with my uncle since my dad's funeral, and I guess I had resent. I didn't say this in the video, but I had resentment towards it because I was like, why? I was somebody, because he was in my life, and then my dad passed, his brother. I was like, why did he never contact me? It wasn't like I laid up at night, crying about my uncle, but it was more just like, the more I thought about it, I was like, I haven't spoken or seen my uncle in, since my dad passed. So I felt like I needed to have that, not like a closure with him, but like I needed to have a conversation with him now that I'm a man and I'm an adult, and be like, hey, this is how I feel, like, why was that the way that it was? Like, why did you do that? Like, and before I maybe didn't have the courage to have this conversation, and I remember, because I knew exactly where he lives, in the same house that he, did when I went to as a kid. And, I went over there, and I remember like knocking on the door and him coming down the steps and just acting like he saw a fucking ghost. And he's just
Wow.
like, holy shit, like Max, like, and it was just a very, it was a great experience. And again, I even saw I hadn't seen my aunt, my dad, both their sister, in maybe I've probably seen them once or twice in the past 15 years. So I showed up at their house too, unexpected. They had no idea I was there. Showed up at the door, and it was just it was a trip that meant a lot to me, and it was a trip that I felt like I needed to go on, and it was a very therapeutic experience for me.
What actually gave you the courage to do that?
To visit my uncles and stuff?
Yeah. Like,
Oh, I didn't really think about it. It was just like, I'm here. Might as well, might as well do it all. Like, might as well, like, if there's ever going to be a time to, figure out why I haven't seen him or her, like, now's the time. I'm 5 minutes away. I'm coming to your door. So it wasn't like I didn't like think about it on the way flying to Roanoke. I didn't
oh, wow.
think about it. Like, it wasn't like this master plan. I was going to visit Dad. Like, Dad was the only purpose of my trip, visiting his grave. And so it wasn't until I kind of was at the grave and I just sat there for 30, 45 minutes, thinking, and I mean, not even I wasn't even I was just sitting there. I was just sitting at his grave, just sitting with my dad. And at that point, like, when I was like, okay, I'm ready to go, I was like, I'm gonna do a couple more things on my trip. So yeah, it was kind of like a last minute addition.
Yeah, that's so fascinating, because I think there's conversations that people have in their own life that they want to have with somebody, that either a friend that they're not friends, or an ex-girlfriend, or like a family member that they haven't spoke to in a while, but they hold that resentment so deeply. And it's interesting that visiting your dad's funeral or your dad's grave, it allowed you like enough peace in that moment to put that resentment aside for one moment.
Yeah.
And I think there's really something to that. And I don't know what to make of that exactly, but it's interesting to me. And I'm curious what you think, like how you can push people in the direction of letting the resentment go that they're holding on to for somebody close to them in their own life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a lot of advice. It was because it was like something that like it just happened at the time because I felt that moment was right. It wasn't this. I didn't think about the resentment I had with my family members. I didn't think about it every day. It wasn't this bottled up thing. It was more of like, if I thought about my dad passing and thought about the people around him. Oh yeah, oh shit, I haven't seen my uncle in 15 years. I wonder why. But it wasn't like I thought about it every day or week or whatever. But I think that's it goes back to like showing people how real I am. I think the fact that I've shown so much on my channel, and I've let people in so much of my life, I hope that the impact that I have is to show you that it's okay to be a lot of different ways. It's okay to be sad, happy, angry, frustrated. All these feelings, you can have them, and everyone that you follow goes through these emotions, but I'm going to share them with you. There's been plenty of times I've been a little baby back bitch and, shed some tears on my YouTube channel. Usually it's talking about, my dad and very hard topics for me. But even just showing that emotion to 100,000 people is a big deal, right? Because you don't know how people are going to, react. I made a whole video, I think it's called like I'm Sorry, where the whole video is, my granddad passed, my mom's dad. And I do this whole video where I talk about like when my granddad passed, I have a problem with dealing with death, and I have a problem with dealing with my emotions. And when my grandfather passed, my first thought wasn't to drop what I'm doing and fly to be with my mom. And I was like, and I explained how like I don't know why I feel this way, and I don't know why that wasn't my first intention. And it's like not because I don't care about my granddad, it's not because I don't care about my mom, but I feel like because I don't know how to console people with death, I don't know how to show emotions, that it's not right for me to go there, because I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to say something I shouldn't, to try to help, and it's not going to go well. And like, so I feel all these ways. So I end up not doing anything, which ends up being this bad thing. And so I make this whole video, and I think that it was that was a really real video where like that's not something people need to know about me or like to know about. That's like no one ever needed to know about that. But I was like, I want to share this with people because I think people also maybe can relate and feel the same way about, it's not that you don't care about people. It's just you don't know how to express emotions. And because of that, it looks like you don't care. And here's how I feel about that. So that was a pretty impactful moment that I've had, and I just want to always show people that every side of me. Yeah, it's been good, and YouTube's kind of like my therapeutic outlet and my way to express myself, and it's like this community of people that truly care about me, and that's what I think I love about my content. Rather than doing these things to gain new followers, because I was like, I'm looking for, not like I need people to care about me, but like that's what I think is powerful. Like I want to leave impacts on people that care about me so that my decisions can, I care about them and I can impact other people. And, hopefully the proof is in the pudding, and I've been doing it for a long time, and no one can doubt my ability of doing things for the wrong reasons or being fake about it. I'm like, go look at my content. Go look at the 1,400 videos I've uploaded,
It's very difficult. From talking to you, I'm realizing it's very difficult to both want to help people and leave a positive impact on their life, but also not care about what they think of you. Yeah. And I think and that's what's coming through. That's how I'm perceiving what you're saying right now, is that you're struggling with the balance of exactly how do I want to help people, but also not care what they think in some way. And I think this is what trips up a lot of people, of doing something and putting it out on the internet, but then just being like, whatever it is. And I truly do not care if this video gets this number of views or people say this or that about me, because I'm coming at it from a good place. So that's an interesting insight that I've never had before, and I'm going to have to think about some more. Another thing that comes to mind from you talking is like, it's very difficult to act in fear and love at the same time. Like when you have that video of you don't want to go home because you're scared, you don't know the right thing to say, that's you acting in fear. When you're acting in fear, you can't also act in love. And so there's a contention there that is very interesting, and a lot to think about.
Yeah, I just think it's a real thing. You don't have to know everything about everything, and I want to show people that like, hey, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in certain situations. I'm a grown-ass man, and like you feel like when you get to be older, you should just know how to do everything in life and handle all the complications that come, and the goods and the bads and the in life. And like I just hope to show people that it's okay to feel certain ways. It's okay to feel scared, angry, whatever, and hopefully I can showcase that to the world.
In your interview with Alex Hormozy, he got very upset, it seemed like, when you used the word should, and you used it a lot in this episode as well. Why do you think that is?
If I can be totally honest, I think he or anyone is just overanalyzing my choice of words, and I think that like some people would be like, no, you're using should because of an internal specific thing. And I'm like, I think that you're overthinking the words that I just say. I think that's just a word that I happen to use, not because there's some deep-rooted thing. And then they'd be like, well, I'd argue that it's deep-rooted because you think it's not deep-rooted. And I'm like, I'm just not that deep of an individual. So like when I just say like, do you think people should like go to the gym? It's like, I don't think people should do anything. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get you don't like it, but but just don't think too deep about my question. So I think it's going too deep on that should shit. Like, and I think I'd even tell Alex that too. I'd just be like, look, like, I know you're a deep individual, but trust me, I'm not. So don't overanalyze what I'm saying. Keep it surface level with the words that I'm saying. So it's,
I'm so excited to ask
him. It's essentially like correcting people when they type a tweet and they put the wrong there. It's like, you don't need to clarify. Like, what they're trying to. They're not trying to like use the wrong one on purpose. I'm not trying to use should to insinuate something. I'm just phrasing it that way of how I was brought up, right? That's just how I say words, So that's my real answer on that.
I love that so much. I'm going to ask him the same question tomorrow on the podcast, and we'll see what he says.
You should
But
be like, you see, here you go. You should tell him and be like, Alex, do you think should people care about people saying should? He's be like, that's gonna blow his fucking mind, bro.
That's a double should. So. No, I think it's interesting because podcasting as a whole and people in general is like are on different wavelengths, different levels of intelligence or different levels of connection. And some things annoy some people and some things don't. And it's cool to see that. And I'm curious how doing the podcast has opened you up to a world of communication, perhaps that you had not considered before.
Yeah, the podcast thing was like a new, just like fuck it. Like I got so much of my stuff on my plate. Why not add a podcast to it, right? And I didn't, my brother's been doing podcasts for a long time. He's much better at it than I am. He's got a much sexier voice than I do. And he's a lot. If you ever want to talk to a deep, deep thinker, very, he won't use should. He'll use the proper words. You should talk to my brother. Imagine me with less 10-year-old jokes and a much deeper outlook on life. That's my brother.
Episode 190.
Yeah, he's I can't speak highly enough about him. My older brother, and but he's been doing podcasts for a long time. So I thought it'd be something cool, an extension to. I thought it would help grow a lot of things I'm doing because it would grow this other audience, but it hasn't worked like I thought it would. I kind of thought that every guest that I had would exponentially grow the show, and then it would bring in a lot of new viewers, and then because of these guests, and then that would be like, oh, I like this Maxx guy, let me go check out my YouTube channel. I thought it was going to be like had this carryover to my personal vlog channel because that's what I really like, and I thought it would elevate everything. Did not happen like that. The podcast has had zero impact on my YouTube channel, zero. So, that's my plan didn't go as well, but I'm enjoying doing the podcast. But like anyone, and I'm like a year in, and I'm sure what I say is probably what people who are feeling frustrated with a year into vlogging. I mean, I'd be like, talk to me when you get to fucking 10 or like 5 or whatever. But with podcasts, I understand the struggles. I've been doing it for a year, and I've had a lot of great guests and a lot of guests that I never would have thought that would have been able to speak with. But no, mind blowing. And but now I'm kind of like, I'm out of guests now. I got fucking nothing. Like I'm out. Like there's obviously a million individuals I can talk to, but I'm just like, I got no one. And I'm gonna honestly, I'm taking a break for season 3. We have one more episode coming out this week, and then I'm taking a break for, I don't know, no more than a month, but maybe like 2-3 weeks until we get to a new studio, and because we're moving warehouses. And something that I said I wanted to do, and a couple of my friends were like, no, that's stupid. No one's going to want that. I was like, I might start trying out some solo episodes where I'm just talking. And one video that I really want to do that I think will be, it'll be a video that people will learn a lot about me, but I don't even know what I'm going to say. But I want to make a video that's almost like an hour and a half, 2 hours of me talking. And it's like, here is the full story of Maxx Chewning. Here is from when I was a kid, everything I can remember, my relationship with my dad, my family, my upbringing, high school Maxx. Like, I want to tell people the whole story of me and just talk. And just, that's something I want to do. And then I'd love to expand it into, people who just have like, just episodes about current events and shit, like just talk. So I don't know. I just don't want to bite myself in the ass and say, when you work for yourself and you can do whatever you want, you're like, I can say whatever I want, and I don't care if people agree with me, or I can say controversial things and I don't give a fuck because I work for myself. But when you own a brand like this and you start being in stores like that, you're now representing this thing that is a much bigger than you. I do watch what I say. I do not get into polarizing, opinionated shit, because what's better, really give, leaning hard into my opinions on the political climate, or, you know, keeping an account at a, you know, major retailer. I think I'd rather just shut my mouth and, like, be, some people be like, that's like being a sheep, whatever. You can have your opinion, but I'm like, look, it ain't worth it to me. I was like, it ain't worth it. I was like, I'll keep it, casual. So, but no, I've really been enjoying the podcast. It has been an outlet for me. It has been a new kind of venture, and it's something that I do enjoy.
Yeah, and you're good at it too. As the viewers,
Thanks.
yeah,
I don't even know how to. I was worried when you started. Of like, I don't know how. I've always gone on podcasts, so I've been like, I don't know how to carry a conversation. And you know, I've learned a lot. I evolved. I used to like talk over people a lot, which people would yell at me for. But I would argue, I'm like, I'm not talking over. That's just how me and my friends talk, is interjecting every sentence. And I'm like, it's just weird when you see other people doing it. But when I talk to my friends, like, we'll have whole thoughts and they just cut me off in the middle of it. And then I cut them off 6 words in, and then no one blinks at it because that's just how we talk. So it's just like, seeing it on a podcast, everyone's like, you need to let the guest talk. I'm like, no, that's just how I talk with people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, when you are exposed to so many people, you're going to get so many different perspectives. And
Yeah.
How do you filter which of those perspectives are worth listening to?
What do you mean?
Like, you're getting 1,000 comments, let's say. How do you figure out, like, which of these are valuable enough for me to actually listen to?
I think there's a big difference in, like, I can tell constructive criticism, and I can tell just. Do you curse on here?
Yeah, curse.
Okay,
Curse
yeah,
away.
yeah. You know, I can, like, I can tell when there's people that are giving correct constructive criticism I appreciate, and I can tell when there's just fucking annoying people just being, you know, anonymous fucking hoes, dude. Like, just where, like, most of the time when I see comments that are just so dumb, like, it's not an opinion, it's just like someone being I don't even know how to describe it, but YouTube has the best feature in this entire planet of the hide this commenter from seeing anything, and it's the best feature in the entire world because you can just essentially shadow mute them, and they have no idea that they're muted, and they can keep commenting, and they will be the only ones that see that comment. No one will see it. You don't even see it, and it's the best feature they've ever come out with. So I'm quick to that. And it's not like if someone disagrees with me, I cut the comment out. It's just if people say some dumb shit, then I'm just like, you're done. You're dead to me. You're out. You're out. You get one shot with me. You get one shot.
You're dead to me.
That's how I feel about, like, if sometimes people will respond to my stories with just some inappropriate, rude comments, and you get one shot with me. You're blocked. I don't care. I don't have time for this. I don't know you well enough for you to like, you're not my boy. Like, you don't get to shit talk me. Like, I don't know you. And it's funny because I'll get a lot of people that'll be like, hey, Max, like 6 months ago, dude, I DM'd you some stuff. Like, can you unblock me? And I'm like, most of the time, I'm like, bro, you get like one shot with me. I'm like, I apologize. You know, it's like, I think I've unblocked someone like once or twice that just was like, for like 6 months on Twitter, they kept being like, please just unblock me on Instagram. Like, I was like going through some stuff. I said some stuff, and I'm like, all right. But most of the time, I got a whole long blocked list on my socials.
Okay, so how do you think about new platforms like Threads? Like, I want your perspective on Threads, hot off the press, Maxx Chewning. Let's say this goes live on tomorrow, this episode.
I guess there's a couple of ways to think about it. One, when a new something comes out, at first you're like, oh, they're just copying this. No way. I mean, look at when Instagram came out with stories. I was like, that's just Snapchat. That's so stupid. And now it's like, I haven't used Snapchat in years, even though apparently people are making a bunch of money on it, and I should do it. But, you know, and then it's like, oh, Reels are stupid. That's just TikTok. And now, you know, people love Reels. So I think it's not about who does it first. It's who does it better. Who takes something that's been around for a while and makes the improvements on it that are the necessary thing. And also, you know, this is really like the positives before I get the negatives, but, like, you know, it's you know, with the whole Threads thing, I'm like, I think eventually they'll get rid of it on its own app and just make it that, just like you swipe over for the Explorer page on Instagram, you swipe one more time and it goes into the Twitter of Instagram, and you can have like a text version of people you follow, and it's just all in one app. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, that would be like fine for me. And then but the negatives are my just like I don't even know how, like, boisterous way would be like, you know what? Everyone that's on, like, people who follow me on, like, the Twitter world is not the Instagram world. Everyone that's on Twitter is like its own world of people. Yeah, they'll have people who have large followings that have Twitters that whatever, but I was like, no, there's like, building a Twitter audience is another type of like skill and level. And I'm like pretty proud that like even recently, because I started like doing this thing where I like comment the most stupid comments on these like really popular meme pages now that they're, in like a feed now. And I get like so much followers from it. So I've like really been proud of like building up this Twitter following because I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult to build up a Twitter following and to have Twitter engagement. And now I'm like, now all these motherfuckers are just gonna on Instagram that weren't even on Twitter are now gonna be like, oh yeah, this is so sick. Like, oh look at I'm on Threads now, and they're gonna instantly have their following. And I'm like, God damn it, dude! I put so much work into Twitter, and now everyone has followers. I'm like, but that's just like that's a nothing burger, right? That's just me saying dumb shit. But no, I think competition is healthy. I think it's good. I think what it's going to do is force platforms it's going to force the best one to come out the victorious, you know? Mm-hmm. So whether Threads is the successor to Twitter, and it shows what Twitter was lacking that Threads made up for, or Twitter's going to look at Threads, see the changes that they made, and be like, look, we need to change this, and this about it, and change this, and it's going to make the app even better, and they're going to come out on top, and Twitter became better because of Threads. Someone's going to win, and I think it'll be better for the overall. But yeah, at the moment, I'm salty that I built up this Twitter following, and I there's a lot of people that it'll suck though, because a lot of people who have these big Twitter accounts who don't have big Instagram accounts, they will not be able to build. I mean, they're gonna have to start all over again on Threads. But who knows? We will see. I am open to the concept. I'm enjoying it. I'm like trying to post all my funny tweets that I would normally post. Now I'm gonna post them as Threads, and maybe here's my chance to become big on another platform.
The nature of life is change, and it's something you'll see time and time again. But I'm grateful for your appearance on this podcast, your thoughts. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I really appreciate how deep you went and how deep you were willing to go on this Thursday morning. But before I let you go, I like to end these podcasts with a challenge. I like to ask the guests for a challenge so that somebody could take the hour and a half that we've spoke and actually do something with it in their life. Does a challenge come to mind from everything we've spoke about, or maybe something we haven't covered yet?
Yeah, go see how many frozen margaritas you can drink before you pass out, everyone. You have an hour and a half. You should be able to get at least 3 in there. I think if you want to, see this is shit my brother would have like a perfect answer for, where I'm just gonna think of some dumb, like you see how a dumb comment came in my first thing, where if you ever talk to my brother, which I really think you should,
episode 190 of this podcast,
and he would just have an immediate, deep, thought out answer, and I just like in my head I'm like, it's weird being like a kind of like on the more real side, but I think take the hour and a half and analyze the fears you have with chasing after certain things in life, and try to figure out like what is scaring you so much, and how can you overcome those things. Because what I've repeated to myself on this podcast is that I'm just a normal guy and has found a lot of success, and I have imposter syndrome, and I don't think it's right, and I was afraid to take a lot of risks, and look at me now, right? I have a golden doodle. And I think that if people analyze the risks that they want to take, and realize that sometimes like the first step of changing your entire life is taking that first step, and to just do it. And if there's something preventing you, whether it's a person, the environment you're in, or whatever, how can you solve that? How can you overcome the first obstacle to get towards your way? This is a great example of, what's that book? The Obstacle is the Way. Never read it. Don't read books at all. But I'm aware of that book title, and I think that probably applies to this situation. So, The Obstacle is the Way.
By Ryan Holiday. Great book.
There you go. My brother would see. I'm trying to think of inappropriate jokes. I'm not even gonna say them. My brother loves Ryan Holiday. My brother, Yeah.
Dude, thank you for all the joy you've brought into my life and all the inspiration you have through being funny and just being who you are. It's an honor to watch you. You are a light. You are carrying on that torch that your dad passed to you, and it's a remarkable thing. You have a gift, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to know you through the internet first and now through this conversation. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited for this to be the first podcast clip that I post on Threads. Follow this man on Threads. Follow this man on
Boom.
YouTube, vlogs, everywhere, Twitter too, maybe. And thank you so much, Max.
Thank you, man.